The Biden-Harris campaign knows it's now a full-court press to Election Day. But even as Joe Biden and Kamala Harris stood on that stage wearing masks, supporters at a safe distance, waving flags, President Trump was out traveling to the key battleground states, often asking, where is Biden?
Where are you, Joe?
He's in his basement. He just doesn't come out.
We have a sleepy guy in a basement of a house.
I want to ask you both about the next 70 days.
Yep.
Not much time left. We saw the president just this week during the convention. He traveled to Pennsylvania, he traveled to Wisconsin, Iowa, Arizona, all of that while you were making your case to the American people. I understand the restrictions of COVID and campaigning in this time, but can you win a presidential election from home?
We will. We're going to follow the science, what the scientists tell us. We've been able to travel places when we've been able to do it in a way that we don't cause the congregation of large numbers of people. Look what happens, what's happened with his events. People die. People get together. They don't wear masks. They end up getting COVID. They end up dying.
So when you hear the president say this guy's afraid to leave his basement,
guess what? I have left my basement, but here, in the meantime, 500 million people have watched what I've done out of my basement. And guess what? People are listening. People are listening. It's about being responsible.
And just before our interview, someone else was in the hot seat on Capitol Hill. The Postmaster General Louis DeJoy, a Trump donor, being pressed about the slowdowns at the U.S. Postal Service.
Senator Harris, I wanted to ask you about the Postmaster General. As you know, he was testifying just today. He said this: the Postal Service will deliver every ballot and process every ballot in time that it receives. That's a promise from the Postmaster General, that the Postal Service will deliver every ballot and process every ballot in time. Do you buy that?
I don't necessarily believe anything that he has said when he says that what he has done has had no effect. Because I know to be true that small businesses around our country in these last days that he has withdrawn resources from the Postal Service are suffering. I've heard about seniors who rely on receiving their medication in the mail on time, and in addition to whatever they're suffering physically, they are worried to their bone that their medication may not come in time for them to take it properly.
Do you think the president is deliberately trying to slow down the mail-in vote?
You know, here's the thing about Donald Trump. I'm not going to spend too much time getting into his brain. I'm just watching what he does and the effect of it.
The president also said just this week, the only way we're going to lose this election is if it's rigged. You have said if Trump loses, he might not leave the White House. Do you really believe that?
Well, look, I said two things. I said, number one, I predict to you that Trump will say we should delay the election. On your nightly show, you pointed out Biden said that. Legitimately, I did. 3 weeks later, he said maybe we should delay the election until he got so laughed out of that position that he said, well, I didn't really mean that. Then he comes along and says we should defund the post office because vote by mail, as he's sitting there signing his absentee ballot he's mailing to Florida, is fraudulent. Zero evidence that that's true. And he's going to do everything he can. And then he also, when asked, will you leave if you lose? He said, it'll depend, or something to that effect.
So what would you do?
Well, the American people will not let that happen. And by the way, everyone from anyway, no one's going to allow that to happen.
I was watching the convention, obviously, very closely. I saw you had a number of Republican headliners during the convention, and everyday voters from across America, Republicans, independents. And Senator Harris, I wanted to ask you about something I'm sure you have heard often. The president and his campaign have said Kamala Harris was rated the most liberal U.S. senator in 2019, that she completes the radical leftist takeover of Joe Biden. I know you laugh, but you were to the left of Joe Biden on some major issues going into the primary, you know, Medicare for all, eliminating private insurance, the Green New Deal. So have you moved closer to Joe Biden, or has he moved closer to you?
Joe Biden and I are completely aligned on the goal. Making sure everyone has health care, and it's not a function of how much money they have in their back pocket. He and I have personal experiences with people we love deeply who have gone through the health care system and who ultimately passed away. And that is a personal and a very deep held belief that is based on a shared value that all people should have access to health care. You look at what we need to do in terms of the climate crisis. Joe's speech last night said it all. We're facing 4 crises right now in America, and one of them is the climate crisis.
And you know I ask you this because you have pressure from the left, you have pressure from the center, you're trying to appeal to Republicans, and so on sort of the evolution on the issues, when you talk about health care that you see eye to eye, do you see a day when private insurance would go away as you once proposed?
No, and in fact, my plan when I was running was that we would not eliminate private insurance. And
even
Joe
though you
and I
signed on for Medicare for all?
I signed on to that. I signed on to a number of bills that were about great ideas to fix the problem. I want to fix the problem, and Joe has a plan to fix the problem, and I'm fully supportive of it.
David, I think if I could just interrupt for just a moment. The degree to which we disagreed in the primaries was on tactic. We both believe Medicare, the health care is a right, not a privilege.
That's right.
And so I don't think we have any disagreement on the basic question of what we have to do as a nation.
The president said he's already prepping for the debates. Are you?
So am I. I can hardly wait.
Who's playing Trump?
I'm prepping.
You can get back to me on that.
And for Senator Harris, who will debate Vice President Mike Pence, there is an expectation she'll bring her skills as a prosecutor. President Trump often criticizing her questioning of his then Supreme Court nominee, Brett Kavanaugh.
Can you think of any laws that give government the power to make decisions about the male body?
I'm happy to answer a more specific question. But
Male versus female.
Senator Harris, I wanted to ask you, because we heard from the Vice President just today that he's looking forward to seeing you on that debate stage more than anyone could imagine.
Oh, good. Me too.
You're prepping?
Oh, I'm looking forward to seeing him. Yes, absolutely.
Both say they're ready. Now a team, something Harris was often asked about on the trail.
The two of you were rivals out on the trail, and I remember, Senator Harris, you were often asked, would you consider being a vice president on a Joe Biden ticket? Your answer was,
I think that Joe Biden would be a great running mate. As vice president, he's proven that he knows how to do the job.
he's already proven he can be vice president. I'm curious, are you okay with how it turned out?
I absolutely am, and I will tell you, Joe Biden is really probably, for me, a model of what makes for a great vice president, and the model for me, if and when, God willing, we win this election. What he did as a partner to Barack Obama, what he did in terms of leading on very significant issues in support of Barack Obama is really inspirational for me as a model of how I intend to do the job.
Would you have picked him?
I would have certainly picked him. And you know what? It's actually, we have a commitment to each other. So in many ways, after he chose me, I chose him too.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.